We'll see if this works. Got my morning coffee. Oh, I just forgot. Bear with me. Who's in here? Reconstructor, Harold. All right, guys. Gotta get the tea. The tea. I've been drinking the heck out of Greek tea. So what I do is in the morning I get my hot water. Then I've got hot tea for most of the day. I do got coffee though. It's still a coffee thing. Then we'll get over some. We'll go over some spot market stuff, shall we? Jeff Beer, what's up? Hi, Harold, Rican. We already mentioned you guys. All right. There we go. There we go. Get some more people in here and I'll read this off. Big Rich, Pale Rider, Scott, Ace, what's up? Light Bright. Lost Cause. Okay, so there's a lot of talk about on Facebook about how the market is about to turn down. And you know, you look at the national average, I think it's about 215 right now, I want to say. There's a lot of people in the spot market that came in when rates were at their highest. And so therefore they weren't really looking at their costs. I mean, they were and they weren't. You know, it's like when you're making a huge profit, you tend to not pay attention to the little things that cost you money. Case in point, how many of you have been to a shipper that is extremely inefficient? And think about, like, if you go to a beverage company like Coke or Pepsi, how much waste do you see? Like, how many pallets upon bins of cases of soda that have exploded or product that's been damaged that they just throw away? Think of the cost factor of that. But Coke and Pepsi are among the highest profiting companies out there, so they tend to not care. They're not looking at those costs. But I guarantee you that if they were struggling, they would review those costs and how could they minimize the damage, right? This is precisely why I put out my numbers. 4% capacity increase. All these guys hyping it up. People jump their own spot markets. $1.70 mile operating cost won't last. You hit the point there, Big Rich. So I'm going to read you something. There's a guy I follow on Facebook. His name is Justin Taylor. He posts in the Rate Per Mile Masters, and then he has his own webpage, and then you can follow him without being his friend on Facebook as well. And he every time he writes something in the Rate Per Miles page, it's always pretty accurate, I don't know, analysis, if you will. And I want to read this off. First, he quotes Zig Ziglar: expect the best, prepare for the worst, capitalize on what comes. And here's what he says. Let's let this truck go by. Got my windows open. We see many views on the market and the factors that will move it up or down. People crying that the rates are too low, pointing fingers at the carrier next to them, or blaming brokers for the demise of their business. We see people saying that they cannot make it or turn a profit for less than $3 a mile, when the market is well below that number as an average. Remember, it's about $2.15. We hear people running to the spot market the same as they would as they have contracted rates, claiming to not move their truck for less than X, no matter the market, and exclaiming that anyone doing so or asking someone to do so is ruining the business. These are his words, not mine, okay? I don't believe rates will continue to slide this year, and I believe we are in for a great fourth quarter, as the last few weeks and month have had factors that contributed to a later push. There are some uncertainties for sure, but I believe that there are good things at work in our economy as a whole, and anything we see now is a temporary setback to a strong forward push, even with added capacity in the market. Also, seeing some of these posts about people not being able to turn a profit in this market should point to capacity going out of business soon. If someone is not turning a profit now and sitting for days waiting for that $3 mile freight in a $2 mile market without a plan, most likely has more issues than just a turn down or downturn in the market, which points to the posted quote by Peter Drucker. Business is just as much, if not more, about working your costs to survive in any market as it is about maximizing profits in a market as we've seen this year. My belief is this: if we expect the best and prepare for the worst, we are ready for anything that comes and won't be crying foul when the time comes. We will capitalize on a bull market with better rates and profits, and we can capitalize on a bear market by cleaning up the mess those who were not prepared will leave behind. In this slower time, it should not have us screaming for mandated rates or pointing fingers at one another. It should have us laser focused on our costs to better understand how we profit, even if the market continues to slide, and what our alarming point where serious changes need to be made. If we are at that point in this market and just starting, your business may not be positioned or set up from the start to be in it for the long run. With the capacity increase and rate decrease being talked about, expect a storm at some point. Maybe not this year, but it will come to us as the balance of the market establishes itself and goes in another direction. One thing is given: businesses will survive, and thrive in this time, and will be around for the next bull run. Which reminds me, think of all the big carriers that everybody blames for the low rates. How long have they been around in business? How long has been Schneider, Werner, Swift, all those places been in business? Okay. Is your business set to withstand a downturn in rates? That's the important part. And if so, to what levels? As I said, I don't believe we are there, and this year will be a great year until the end. But the better we cut losses now, the better prepared we will be for any market at any time. The market will always favor the ones who can adapt to changing environments, and the ones who adapt the best are those that prepare for the environment changes. So look at your cost and position your business for a down market, and plan how you will maximize the bull market, making you the optimal position no matter what happens. Excellent quote. Excellent. That is from Justin Taylor on Facebook. I learn a lot just by reading his posts. And he speaks a lot of truth. And he kind of talks about, well, everything I just said about people blaming others for a low market, people wanting mandated rates, people wanting to blame the mega carriers or the foreigners for the cheap rates, when in reality it's a simple supply and demand. There are more trucks out there than you think. There's no truck shortage, and a lot of freight sits on the docks because they don't want to move it at a certain price, and they only move it when there's a demand for it. If there's no demand, there are whole factories shutting down because they can't find good workers, and that's a problem in and of itself. Hitchcock, this is Justin Taylor from Facebook. There'll be a surge of cheap equipment when all these guys go under. Exactly, Big Rich. I gotta make $4 a mile or I gotta return my chair, says James. I ran for $1.24 a mile with Snyder, and I'm still here. I'm a survivor. Hitchcock, you bring up a very good point, and I was actually pretty impressed with your numbers. You're killing it. Here's the thing, guys. A lot of people give the Snyder ICs a lot of flack, okay? Especially the lease operators, okay? But they're paying a close to $4,000 a month truck payment, or actually over $4,000 a month truck payment. And the smart ones that know how to adapt, know how to move, and know how to utilize the market, they're the ones that are making it. So think about that. If they can make it with averages between $1.30 and $1.70 a mile, with a $4,000 a month truck payment, what does that tell you? Okay, a lot of people give them crap, but the reality is if you have mastered the Snyder program, you're going to be okay. At a $4,000 a month truck payment. And just because you got a used truck maybe and you don't have a Snyder Finance truck, you still got to run smart, because my Peterbilt costs just as much as the Snyder truck when you added up the payments and the repairs. So, but the only problem is I didn't run like I had a Snyder Finance truck, so therefore it hurt me a little bit. Now, when it comes to surviving bad rates, I survived at Landstar when rates hit an all-time low. And I'm talking like $1.30 before Landstar's cut in a lot of areas. And it was the guys that had mastered the Landstar market and had relationships with certain agents that were able to survive the downturn. And then the other ones that survived were the ones that reduced their costs, and that's what I did. I reduced my costs. I figured out what my niche was, and that was hazmat, empty totes, and I made it work. The only reason why I went from Landstar to Snyder was for consistency, and so consistency plays a big part in, and I'll get to the comments here in a second. Consistency will play a big part when rates come down. And that's evidence from the guys that are running an average of $1.50 a mile at Snyder with $4,000 truck payments. There was a thought, and it just like left me. Just had an ADD moment. So let's get to the comments while I try to think of what that is. Oh, I was going to talk about the Landstar. The other Landstar guys that survived went to dedicated accounts like Walmart, Averett, Conway, that kind of stuff. FedEx, because it created consistency. But again, you had to have relationships with agents to get to those places. Now, relationships with brokers become important when it comes to downturn, because if you didn't hike up their rates too bad when everybody could, that broker is going to want to use you. And yesterday I was in a situation where I went to go pick up a load. They had 3 of these loads at this particular shipper. The same load, same destination, just different appointment times. And I got there and my particular load was postponed. So I called the broker up. She said, well, I've got a guy that's late. I'm going to give you his load. Here's a new rate con, which, by the way, Jeff, if you're watching, I sent you the new rate con. It's off by a couple of numbers, so make sure that's the one you put in. And she said, because you take care of us, because you've know this lane, and you know this customer, and you've been nothing but good for us, I'm going to give this to you. So that's where relationships come in. Now, am I easy to replace? Yes. If I was to call her up, tell her, F you, I don't want to run your haul your freight anymore, she's going to be like, okay, whatever, no big deal. But you don't crap where you eat. So she's always giving me a fair rate. Is it the high $4 mile stuff like some of the guys see? No. But it's not the $1.80 stuff that everybody else is trying to push on everybody. So let's go with the comments here. Longer hours of service means more available trucks. Yes. So if they implement a lot of these hours of service changes, the flexibility is going to come back. And what that will do is that will create more competition. However, it will also create more flexibility, because there's a lot of loads that I call on that I can't take because of hours of service or when it delivers and all that stuff. And the trick to the new hours of service regs are going to be to master them and know how to utilize them to your advantage. Big Rig CEO. Jeff Beard says, I just looked into driving school and they say 300,000 drivers needed. What that is that we don't have a driver shortage, we have a driver retention. So for every 100,000 drivers that enter the market every year, or enter the trucking industry every year, sorry, how many of them stay? That's the percentage everybody should be looking at. If a place like Schneider or Swift is getting so many drivers a year, how many are they retaining? Because it's bad enough that it's a lifestyle you got to adapt to. It's a hard job. You got all those factors. But what are they doing to entice these people to stay? What are they doing to entice these people to work for them? JB Hunt started a Monday through Friday type program where you basically work it like a regular job. You sleep in the truck 2 or 3 nights a week and you're done. You always have 2 days off, so it's almost like a 9-to-5 job. You know, Schneider's got a lot of dedicated accounts that do the same thing. You know, I don't know much about the Swifts, but you know, they're trying to make adjustments, but people are still leaving in droves. We got to look at that, and you know, and the answer is money. You got to throw money at it. If people are making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year as a company driver, they probably wouldn't leave. You know, if you're at a company making, if you're a company driver making $100,000 a year, which is extremely rare, why would you leave that? You know, so there are other factors involved. John Cater says, I watched your video and commenting on the FMCSA. I commented, probably won't make a damn, but I commented. You can't, it doesn't hurt to try. You know what I mean? It's not like it costs you money like winning, you know, like, oh, I'll never win the lottery. Well, you can't win the lottery if you don't play. But the play costs money. To put in your comments, you know, even if it's hey, this is a step in the right direction, or I would try to look at this, you know. They extended the time to put your comments for a reason, so they obviously want to listen. Maybe this administration is different. Maybe they're realizing that trucking is the lifeblood of this country, and therefore it's important to make sure that we can do what we need to do. Because obviously the shippers and receivers aren't going to change. Obviously the parking situation's not going to change. So the things that are changeable are the hours of service. $4,000 truck payment. That's stupid. Yeah. I know how freight moves is all I learned from experience. Fixed expenses, $4,800 a month. There you go, Big Rig CEO. He's the Schneider owner operator. They work smarter and harder but succeed. Yep. Truck of Life Ace. I haven't taken a load under $1.70 a month with Snyder. The rates at Snyder are actually pretty good right now. Big Rig CEO keeps me up to date on that. You went through a depressing time with Landstar. Right. There was a lot of Landstar drivers that left. I know several that lost their trucks to the bank. I mean, these are people that I talked to on the phone that lost their trucks or had to give their trucks back, or they got tired of it. They got tired of the fight, you know? And a lot of them laughed at me when I went to Snyder. Meanwhile, 2 months later, I'm getting calls. Hey, Steve, how you doing at Snyder? I want to go over there. And then that's when they implemented the no old trucks rule at that point. And then later on, they implemented the collision mitigation system. So a lot of the Landstar guys that were laughing at me, they wanted to come over to Snyder later when they saw that I was doing all right, they couldn't go over. And a few of them hold it against me personally. And it sucks because I could have made a killing on referral bonuses. Joshua, I agree. I came over here, Trucker for Life says, I came over here to Snyder IC from Prime. I was getting 70% of the loads there, but here I'm making 1,000 to 1,200 more here than Prime. What does that tell you, man? New hours of service giving you more flexibility has potential to lower rates. Yes. You're going to have to work in volume, not quality. How many drivers profit 100K? I know none of the drivers where I'm at does. We bounce 50, 60K average. Exactly, Benjamin Duke. If you're an owner or operator claiming that you're netting 100,000, I'd only believe that if you were a heavy haul, RGN, step deck, specialized van, that kind of thing. Okay, James Best brings up a really good point. I love that point, James. They realize that unless you want to pay $5 for a loaf of bread, you have to keep rates in check. More hours, more available trucks. There you go. There it is. It is not in the country or corporation's best interest to make sure that we're making $4 a mile. It is not in their best interest to make sure that we're making $3 a mile. It is in their best interest that we know how to run our business and still make a profit. Yes, that is there. But the higher we charge, the higher their costs go up. So what do they want to do? They want to bring costs down, just like we do. The only time they want to pay out the yin-yang for a rate is if something really, really needs to go at a peak time, like fireworks, for example. You know, if you need something has to be there in 2 days before the 4th of July at a fireworks stand, they're going to pay out the yin-yang to do that. But for the most part, they want to keep the other rates low so they can afford to do that. A lot of people out here just don't want to put forth the effort needed. I must have called on 50 loads this morning before I found the one that works for me. The right lane, price, delivery, and pickup times, right. Yeah, Ricardo, LTL companies pay 100 grand, and that's why they don't have a high turnover rate. Shadow Wolf, I did. We all did, man. I got videos of it. It was pretty cool. I missed seeing you down there. I guess you were there the day before, a couple of days before. It's hoping to see you, brother. So, we're caught up with the comments. Imagine that, I think. Yeah. So, anyways, these are the thoughts that are in my head while I'm having my morning coffee. Um, and I could talk about a couple other things, but I just want to keep this about rates. So, look, guys, like Christian Trucker just made a move. If you watch Christian Trucker, he just made a move to lower his weekly fixed expenses. Okay? I know guys that have worked at other companies, and once they figure out the system, you look at Christian Trucker. Here's what he did. He went from Schneider, made it work at Schneider, even with the area that he runs in. It's not the best rates in the Schneider world. He made it work, and he started with lower cost than your typical Schneider finance person, right? And he mastered that system, and then he jumped over to Advanced Trucking, which is the spot market. And he has mastered that system. And it was a tough transition, but he made it work, through help of a lot of people here on YouTube, and through all of us learning together. He mastered the system. He's still learning. We all are. I'm still learning. And then he made moves to lower his weekly fixed costs, to give him some breathing room from when rates go down, or there's a downturn, or something happens at home, and that's the key. And so you take people like Steve Berger that started off with the Schneider Finance truck. He learned the system, he mastered the system, and he made it work. He knew how to run that system with $4,000 truck a month truck payment, right? And then he decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to lower my costs, and then he went and got his own truck. So now he's running the same market, not running as hard as he was, but he's still netting more money. So, and now he's got a nice house, and he's got his own jam room again where he's playing guitar again, and we all benefit from that because he's a good guitar player. Yeah, here, B. So, that's what you have to do. You have to figure out how to lower your costs. Jeffrey Light, he also lowered his costs by getting the International. So because he knows he needs to be home more to run the business, and so he lowered his operating cost on the truck side. So it's a smart thing that a lot of people do. And here's another bit of advice that's going to probably tick some people off. Did you get this? Oh, no. Well, okay, sorry, I'm answering questions without reading them. Did you get the same phone call I got about deleting your DPF system? Yes. But I don't know if I could do that with the PACCAR. The Cummins Whisperer that person was talking about. I don't know if that's possible. Not with that guy, anyways. I don't know the third one, Jeff. I don't know the third one, Jeff Beard. So, the other thing, if you're thinking about becoming an owner-operator, make sure you keep your costs low. Bees are coming in here. And make sure you have good credit. Credit is essential, because when a catastrophic breakdown or a major house event, home event, family event that is unexpected, like a death in the family or a sick person or yourself, an injury. Like, let's say you're a dumbass that falls on the sidewalk, right? Like me. You want to have lines of credit to fall back on. You don't want to use them as a crutch. And trust me, I've done that. However, if you have good credit, you'll always be able to get that loan for that overhaul that you might need, or that major truck repair that came up, or to float the truck payment for a month, or to get a trailer when you want to not have a new trailer payment, that kind of thing. If you're tired of $4,000 truck payments, having good credit will allow you to get in your own truck that's not a lease deal. Not that there's anything wrong with the lease deals, but there are advantages to both sides. We won't get into that. Jeffrey Like has talked about them many times. It takes good, if you want a full maintenance lease, it takes good credit to do that. You don't have to have amazing credit, but you have to have some kind of established credit. And let someone else do a video on how to establish business credit, because that's not my forte. I do have business credit, but mainly because I got my EIN number and my LLC like before I even bought my truck, and I put Peterbilt in its name, I put the Kenworth in its name, the trailer's in its name, so we're good. But I'm also a sole proprietor LLC, so it comes back to my social security number anyway. So good credit was important, and and I believe that'll give you the, because there might be a time when you weren't able to run for that month, and then all of a sudden you got a major DPF system go down, or you have a major breakdown, turbo goes out. How are you going to pay for that? Are you dead in the water? And I watched a lot of guys at Landstar reach that point. They didn't have good credit. The trucks are paid off. They weren't making the money they thought they were. And then when they had a catastrophic breakdown, they were done. They had to give up their truck and pretty much go back to being a company driver. And so credit is important. That's why the lease companies like Schneider and Prime and Celadon, they make it easy, because they take advantage of people that don't have good credit. Hey, you can have a brand new truck. Like I've got good enough credit, I could probably go out and get a new truck. It's going to cost me a bit for the down payment, but at this point in time, I'm not looking to get into a new truck, because I'm trying to keep my costs low. And the only time I will get into a new truck is if this has such a catastrophic breakdown I have no choice, or that's where my credit comes in, or I have enough money to put a down payment to make my truck payments low. That's the trick. If you want a brand new truck, go in with 20 grand, and you'll keep your monthly truck note low, and that's where you survive the hard times. Sonny Miller, I was getting over a cold, so I'm still congested, but I got over it within a day. Like Friday, I was probably being dumb, but then Saturday morning I was good to go. So anyways, all right guys, I'm out of here. To the customer early so I can look for my next load. My signal, I don't know, the DAP board was being kind of screwy. I thought it was my signal, but it's not, because obviously I was able to do this live feed. So anyways, thanks for watching. Keep up the positive fight. Make your adjustments. And follow Justin Taylor on Facebook. If you're not part of the Rate Per Mile Masters page, look for Justin Taylor. And I want to say it's Strive Logistics, but I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Be safe. Keep your steering wheel out of your gut, that kind of thing. So, see you.